Hello fellow guitar geeks! What if I told you you could get an all hand-wired 5-watt Fender style amp for under €500? You'd say, Andy, that's a great title for a YouTube video. A little bit long, but I don't believe you. Well, that is it. That is the Kestral from Birdsong Amplification, and I've been sitting here playing it for quite some time instead of making the video. I wanted to open this video with me going, I wonder what it sounds like. Let's plug it in, let's change the tone around. But I didn't, because I accidentally hit a chord and then I spent a good hour making a track for you and just playing with the amp. So here's that track, and then we'll get back to exploring the sounds of the Kestral. Enjoy the music. I should be talking to you about the specs, but I want to play it a little bit more. Listen to this. This is one of the most fun amplifiers I've ever played. Fun for probably two main reasons. One, it's affordable, and two, it sounds great and is inspiring to play. So when you spend a lot of money on an amplifier, then, well, a lot of money is relative. This is €442, very specific number. But when you spend a lot of money on an amp, say £1,000 or more, then you expect it to sound good. One of the best things about my job about doing this is finding gear like this that sounds amazing and sounds like it's worth more money than it is, or whether it costs more money than it is. It is worth more money than it is. It's just beautifully, beautifully crunchy. It's got that little dry crunchiness with those certain frequencies that is so Fender small ampy, like you're biting into a crunchy loaf and then stuffing it in your ears. It's just so much good fun tone. I should point out that it does go cleaner, so it's right on this crunchy tone, which I'm obviously enjoying, but let's make it a little cleaner, and then let's make it a little dirtier. It's on, volume-wise, it's on 5 out of 12, so I know that doesn't mean anything to you right now, but if I play it and try and talk at the same time, it sounds like this. This is what it sounds like. So it's on the edge of me having to... that was weird. It's on the edge of me just having to raise my voice. So I'm talking like this. I'm singing. That. There's the crunch. Backing up the volume a little. So backing off to about 7, and we've got this lovely little... oh, a bit more maybe. So just with the volume knob on the guitar, you can make it really crunch. You can also adjust the dynamics of your playing to make it sing a little softer. So here's max volume, but with softer picking. It does a lot just for the guitar. I love simplicity that actually delivers a pick on the floor. Quite a lot of tones. Possibly the best thing about using any sort of 5-watt small amp is the fact that you can overdrive it at low volumes. And that for me is the beauty. So we're going to do some sort of 60s garage thing, I guess. That's what I'm expecting. Anyway, so we're at volume about 5-ish, and I'm going to boost it to 10, and then we're going to go to 12. Well, not boost it. I'm just going to turn the knob. It doesn't have a boost switch. Here we go. So that was 5. This is 10 out of 12. Again, this thing just delivers. That is insanely fun. I was thinking kind of Kinks, also BBC by Austin Powers, if you know that song. Bear in mind that I'm using single coils in this tele. Sorry, I'm so excited that I can't talk. Let's push it to 12 and see what happens. So that's 10. It's still, like, it's not blowing my face off, so... It's on the edge of me needing to put earplugs in, but not super loud. It's starting to misbehave. Oh, it's getting saggy and compressy and all nice. Either that or my ear is finally giving in, but that is, as I'm hitting those chords, it's getting all smushy and spongy. Have a listen. So I'll play it softly, then hit it, and you'll hear that suddenly compress. Dudes. I feel like I could stop there. I feel like if I was setting out to prove something, that this was a good amp, for example, I have succeeded. However, we're not going to stop there. We're going to do some humbuckers. That's what we're going to do. Let's leave it in the high position and see what it sounds like. See if we can get some sort of 70s rock from it. That's what I'm feeling. Can you hear that jump? Like when I hit the notes, I don't know I hope it comes across in the video. When I hit the note, it compresses, then releases. Beautiful sag. Got a built-in fuzz pedal. This is a fuzz pedal amp. Is it the greatest fuzz pedal I've ever played? I don't know. It doesn't even blow my ear off. So even though I'm starting to feel it, and I'm going to have to do something about that in a moment, possibly take a break, but that's a hell of a recording amp. I know that well, maybe you don't know, but 5-watt amps are the way to get certain tones when recording. There's no way you could comfortably or even physically get that tone from a larger amp. So when you're driving a 5-watt amp at its maximum, it can't give no more. So it's really driving that power section and giving you this wonderful fuzzy sagginess. So when the amp compresses and then opens up again, I believe it's called blooming. So it is exactly what it sounds like. It's like something going pum, and then the sound opens up again, which is gorgeously wonderful to play with, and I haven't played enough. And you hear it a lot on the 60s recordings where small amps were the thing. I'll say it, I think I've said it already, but I'll say it again if I have. Everybody should have a little 5-watt amp that does this. Everybody, because that's acceptable-ish house volume. And it's not feeding back, it's just sounding gorgeous. What I want to do is plug it in next to the Fender. So I've got a Fender Champ down on the bottom there, which Birdsong have lent to me, and we're going to sort of test them out, see if that does the same thing. Let's switch the amps around. The first thing you might notice about the Fender Champ is that it's smaller. It's got an 8-inch speaker, which you can't see, but obviously the cab is smaller. It's more rounded and more formed, more shaped, more attention to detail, which I think is lacking on the Kestrel, but we'll talk about looks a little bit later. I brought it up, you didn't bring it up. We'll talk about tone. There are 2 inputs on the Fender Champ. There's input 1, which is, let's call the standard input. And there's input 2, which is attenuated by minus 6 dB, so it's a little softer. So to get the same volume, you have to boost it. So you can get more crunch at lower volumes. So first I'll go through input 1, then we'll go through input 2 as well and play about with it. I'm looking for that bloom as well. I want the clean stuff, but I'm looking for the bloom. So this is on about 4. The Fender sounds more present. Also it's pokey. There's some more high frequencies coming through. Probably, well, can't say probably, possibly because of the smaller speaker. It doesn't have as much low end, which I actually really like. Let's turning it up to now 8 out of 12. Not getting the same inspiration that I was from the Kestrel. Not saying this sounds bad. It may even sound better to you, but I don't like 8-inch speakers really. I'm sure recorded this sounds different. So going through the Lewitt mic there, which is the LCT 440 by the way, it probably sounds pretty decent. I'm gonna have to boost the tone on the Kestrel to see if I can get that same top endiness. Let's see how super loud. That's maximum. And let's see how far I can get some silky, soft, loud fuzz. I can feel it already misbehaving. You might see from my face and getting quite serious and analytical that I'm actually listening rather than enjoying, because we're comparing and that's necessary. But I'm enjoying this less, I think. Not saying I don't like it, I do, but let's try the minus 6 dB. So input 2. That's better. To my ear, like in the room, that's better. Still prefer the Kestrel currently. That's a surprise. I love me some Fender. I'm gonna go humbuckers with the Kestrel, with the Fender Champ, and see if that gives us that insanely gorgeous bloom. Sorry, 66. Let's go Albatroz from Maybach, and we've got the tuner off. That's that sort of satisfaction-y sound. This is a fuzz pedal lover's dream, turning up a little 5-volt amp to as loud as it goes with humbuckers. Do I prefer the Kestrel or the Fender? We're on minus 6 dB. Let's change back to the standard input, which should be a twitch louder. It is louder. There's not much. 6 dB is not that much, really. That is a tone that I believe you won't get easily from any pedal. That you need volume for that, but also hearing the amp sort of getting cooked is something that pedals are emulating. And there's the rip speaker from 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏, which is all right. It's good, but it doesn't do that. I mean, it's more ripped. So playing with the bias on a fuzz will get you close, but that is a very satisfying, responsive tone. It's clean. It's still there if you dig in. I'm going to try the Kestrel again because I think I preferred that tone. I think. That's roughly where it was before. What did I do? Oh, I like the brightness of the Fender, so I'm going to boost the tone all the way up. So I've got volume maxed and tone maxed. Let's see how that sounds. Let's plug it in first. Input only one of them. volume thing. So the Fender cleans up more beautifully. Let's try it with some single coils to see what that sounds like. But currently, for me, I want both amps, of course. But that can't happen. That cannot happen. So the Fender is twice the price of the Kestrel. We'll talk about that in a moment, but I need to drop the volume on the amp, I think, because I'm just boosting everything so much that it's just not having a nice time to get clean. That's not really fair on the amp. Let's try it that way. About there it loses some girth. I straight up prefer the look of the Fender. Those rounded edges, that nice brown leather handle, the oh so familiar layout. It just looks like it's had time spent on it. Whereas the Kestrel does look like, I was going to say poor imitation. That's really not fair. It does look like it hasn't had that much time spent on the cab, which is fair because of the price. That being said, it is just a box. So if I were to improve something about this amp that was totally unfair, I'd want some more time spent on the corners, which would of course reflect in the price. Birdsong have very clearly attempted to make a low-cost Fender style amp, and they have achieved it. It sounds fantastic, talking about sounds again. It looks less than fantastic. So it doesn't look bad, and at the back of a stage, especially if it's a big auditorium like those gigs that I usually play, you wouldn't notice those corners, but if someone were to look up close, you know, man, am I going to get flamed for being so picky? But I have to be honest. That is not to detract from the fact that I think this is a wonderful amp. I have very rarely had so much fun with an amp in this room, or any room in fact. Some information about Birdsong. They're based in Belgium in the EU. And the amps are made in China, not in the EU. And that's how they keep the price so low. We've got a Celestion speaker, we've got ruby tubes, and we've got a hand-wired turret board with Sprague orange drops, etc., etc. A pine cabinet, not an MDF thing or anything like that. It's 442 euros. The Fender is a lot more than double that. And I'll accept these corners. I'll accept the fact that I think the handle, even though apparently leather, should be brown, not black. That should be brown. Let's go to there. Hang on. There. Can you see it a little better? Not really. Great camera angle, Andy. That should be brown. I'll accept all of that because the tone is phenomenal. And I've not been inspired to play an amp like this in a long time. And I've had this amp with me for quite a while and haven't done this video, and I regret that hugely. Man. So, the Fender is great. I love the Fender. It's brighter, there's more presence, it goes cleaner, it goes more nasally, it's more 8-inch speaker tone. I see the application of that, and that's why that amp is so popular. It's a legend. However, I think the Kestrel has taken this sort of feeling of that Champ and put it in a slightly different direction with a 10-inch speaker, bigger cab, warmer, rounder, more frequency response. I prefer the Kestrel at this point, for me. For live use, put this at the back of the stage or somewhere on the stage with a mic on it, as I have it now. And then, there we go. And then put that through the PA. You're going to have this brilliant tube-driven sound right on the edge or wherever it is you want it at a controllable stage volume. No, it won't keep up with the drummer. No, it won't upset the neighbors that much either. So this is not the amp for taking to a band practice or a gig where you need that volume. If you want to gig with it, you absolutely have to mic it up, unless you're at really super low volumes. I'm talking about a rock gig now. I'm imagining, you know, Wembley Stadium. You know what I mean. There is a slight downside to this amp and the whole series of Birdsong amps, I guess, and that's the fact that being built in China right now, they're hard to get a hold of. So I've been asked to keep this video back until there's some stock. So right now, if you're watching this as I've released the video, there is stock, because that's how we've timed this video. If you're watching it later or somehow earlier, then there might not be any. So if you're at all interested, and this is not me trying to sell you an amp, I get nothing from you buying the amp apart from, you know, gratification. I urge you to do it now, you know? Go buy now. As 𝗬𝗢𝗎𝗔𝗢𝗧𝗢𝗏 would say in his twice daily emails, buy now. Thank you to Birdsong for sending out the Kestrel and for sending out the Fender Champ. The Champ is going back, or it will already be back by the time you see this, but the Kestrel is staying with me. I am absolutely going to be using it in future videos because that is a kick-ass tone that I want to play more guitars through. It's intoxicating how good that sound is. And because I said intoxicating, it's now the end of the video, which means you've made it into the end of the video club to prove that you are a member of this prestigious elite. When you leave me a comment down below, please also include the phrase, "Come on, Kez!" If you enjoyed the video, then please leave a thumbs up, a like on the video so more people get to see it. It increases the chances of YouTube sharing this video around. Thanks for doing that. And as a thank you, there's a video there you can have, or there. That's a good one. That's an egg. I remember that one. It takes me back. Thanks for watching. Bye.